Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Gabe Pickett. I am Career Outreach Specialist here at the Feller Center for Advising Career Planning. Welcome to BSOS Majors in Consulting, Developing Your Summer Game Plan. Ron, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Rhonda Anstead, and I'm the Career Outreach Strategist for the Department of Economics. And this is something that Gabe and I have been talking about for a long time on how to support our BSOS students and Econ majors to be able to be successful in applying for consulting firms.
So again, welcome. Thank you. Again, as Rhonda was saying, this is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, to really be able to lend support. We do know that we have a number of students who are interested in consulting field, but kind of trying to find their way. So we wanted to make sure that, going into the summer, that you kind of have your footing as far as how you can adequately prepare. The summer is a kind of very essential time to kind of prepare for the upcoming recruiting season. The recruiting season for consulting, especially that industry, happens very early in the fall. Typically even starts towards the end of summer. So if you're not spending the spring and summer to prepare, when this next school year comes around, you could be behind, very well be very behind. So we wanted to make sure that you guys knew where to kind of start, where you guys could kind of find some resources and really start to leverage your experience here to get ahead in your preparations. So some of the things that we're going to cover today is how to develop a summer plan. So again, talking about some of the resources, how to kind of get yourself organized, and the things that you need to prepare yourself to be adequately prepared for interviews, recruiting sessions, and things of that nature. Again, we're going to be reviewing some resources, so we'll provide you with links, documents, videos, show you how to network, things like that, so that you are adequately prepared, know how to kind of go about moving forward, not just providing sessions like this where we're just trying to talk tonight, but be able to really kind of go out in the world and do what you need to do. And then we're going to wrap up with breakout room sessions so that you kind of give you a chance to kind of discuss amongst yourselves and discuss how you'd like to kind of move forward and kind of really apply the things that you have learned or experienced here today.
Great. And so really a big component of planning is, well, the goal of planning is not to have a plan, it is to do it. And so that's why Gabe and I are looking to see how we can set you up so that you're not just thinking about what you're going to do this summer, but that you actually create something. And so what we've done is we have drafted a planning worksheet for you. And so I want you to take the time. And so Gabe put a link in the chat. You can also use the shortcut ter.ps/consultplan. And basically the goal of this is to help you create clear and achievable goals for yourself this summer. And so we've broken it down week by week. And what the suggestion is to have one thing that you're going to accomplish that week. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to cram everything in at the last minute, especially for case interview practice. These are complicated processes, and you will need to give yourself the time to learn what you need to do and to practice it. And so by breaking it down week by week, then you can set some realistic due dates for yourself. And accountability is also a really strong way to set yourself up for success. And what we mean by that, it can be a lot of different things to different people. Sometimes it's simply just saying, this is what I'm going to do, and showing it to a friend. And sometimes what we're doing is we're building in an accountability workshop for you at the end of summer. So the BSOS Majors in Consulting Summer Debrief, you will see a link to register for that in your planning sheet. And Gabe might put that in the chat as well. But that's just so that, because we want to give you an opportunity and a deadline for you to check in and tell us how things have gone. And so that's another way that you can hold yourself accountable. And so with the planning worksheet, as you go along, so please download that. So I am actually going to share my screen really quick. And so I'll be kicking you off. Where did it go? Oh, I know where it is. So the link is to a box document. So please go here, click on download. So then you have this for you to use. And so as Dave mentioned, we have a ton of resources here for you for the resume writing, networking, case interviewing, everything that was talked about last week that Rahita and Andy shared with us. It is a resource, as well as our own BSOS resources for you as well. And then the summer planning, again, we've got suggested goals here. And you know your summer, you know your vacation, you know the internships or jobs that you have. So, so you can use our suggested goal, you can change it to your own specific goal, but this is your opportunity to create something for you that will work. Okay, let's go back to slideshow. And what's the next one? All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit more about how you can write a strong, compelling resume. So I have created, and this is something that is in your in the resources on your planning spreadsheet, the Econ resume template. And so this is something that's going to be useful. It's almost like a editable infographic. So there's some kind of built-in instructions on how you can best use it. It is a template that is that works with both human readers and automatic tracking systems. So if a computer reads your resume at the beginning, this template will work for you. And also the Feller Center and their resume writing resources have got other examples that you might want to take a look for. So please take a moment to download that template as well. And what I want to go through really briefly is how you can write compelling bullet points. And the great thing about this process is that it also really sets you up for behavioral interviews. So last week, I think it was Rahita who was talking about the STAR method when you are answering questions in behavioral interviews, a situation, task, action, results. This is something similar. I like it a little bit better because it helps you to think through your challenges and not just the task, but what obstacles did you have to overcome. So I would recommend that one of the weeks this summer, you spend thinking through your accomplishments and achievements that you've had both academically and in past jobs. And so you might be thinking about the internship that you had last summer and that you had to do some data analysis for a policy organization, for example. And so what I recommend is that you think through what were things like when you first started? What was the situation? And when I say quantify, if possible, I want you to think in terms of maybe number of people that you worked with, or number of projects that that were assigned to you. If we take this data analysis project, for example, you might start with that you had 5 different data sets that needed to be converged in order to conduct your analysis. And so that's what, so you really want to think about numbers. Numbers pop on resumes. I really recommend that you force yourself to think about, where can I extract a number from this situation? So the obstacles, this gives you an opportunity to be a little more descriptive about what the situation was and what you faced. And so maybe these different data sets were in different programs that didn't speak to each other very well. And so that might have been a challenge. Maybe the project that you were working on was already 2 months late, and there was a lot of pressure for you to get it done yesterday, and you walked into that. So think about, just go into a few more details about what did you face when you got started. And so then the actions, so what did you do to tackle the project? And so it might be, I downloaded everything into a CSV file, and then merged the data sets, and I wrote some code that assisted that process. So what would have taken 10 hours only took 5 minutes, for example. And then that gets into the results. How did things get better because of what you did? And again, if you start with thinking about the situation, that's like the before. The results are the after. So you want to paint a before and after picture. And then, so that data is like your raw data. You're not going to put all of that in a bullet point, but what you can do is then use that to write a compelling bullet point about your accomplishment. So, analyzed 5 data sets for such and such project within 24 hours, or within a week of starting the project, that was then shared with legislators. And so that is how you turn your work into compelling bullet points. Again, you don't want this to just be your responsibilities, tasks, or duties. You want this to be how you made things better. This is really, really important when we're talking about consulting resumes. Okay, any questions? We didn't say at the beginning that if you have any questions as you're going through this, you can put it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself. So we don't have to save it all for the end.
Hi, thank you for.
Hi, Jessica. Yes.
Thank you again for, I think I really needed this workshop too. So this is not a question about like this slide, but looking through the preparation plan document that you guys have made. So when we're doing mock interviews, I was wondering if you guys have any recommendations on who we should reach out to, like Dr. Onstead, would you be a person that we could reach out to for mock case interviews?
We are going to answer that question. So
okay, perfect.
I'm glad that you're thinking about this. And yes, this is part of the challenge. And so we're going to get to that in just a second. So
that's a question.
So let's move on. And your second has arrived.
Awesome. So thank you, Rhonda. And she talked really great length as far as the behavior interview and resume kind of process there. For those of you who may know, some of you don't, consulting can either be, you can conduct a behavioral interview, which is a lot of things that Rhonda just went over, or a case interview, which also incorporates a lot of kind of quantification and application aspects to the interview. we don't have enough time to kind of get into the actual ins and outs of everything that are in a consulting case interview in this session, but we do provide a multitude of resources on that document that you can explore on your own. There's a lot of great reading resources, as well as there are some really detailed videos, YouTube videos that kind of show you the step-by-step process of how to analyze, dissect, and conduct a consulting interview. So our suggestion to you is to definitely in your own time, I know this is definitely a busy time of the year for most students, but definitely as you guys are developing your game plan, definitely make sure you're setting some time to dedicate to these resources, to kind of study, look at them, and practice the things that you have applied and learned. Again, we talk about mock interviews. Obviously, once you've kind of reviewed a lot of these things, you want to also make sure that you are getting the practice in. You're going to get better with the repetitions, right? Be able to kind of talk fluently about what you're about subject matters and really understand what are the things to say, what are the things to say, how do you answer some questions, what are some things that you should probably leave out, things like that. Just come better with repetition. Also, obviously, you want to make sure that you are covering all the topical areas that they are asking in the case subject that you are posed with. So getting that practice in doing mock interviews, doing them with different people, right? So trying to interchange who your partner is. Like you obviously want to make, especially to start, maybe start with someone you're maybe a little bit more comfortable with. But as you get more repetitions under your belt, you start to work with people who you might not be as comfortable with, but have definitely some type of experience in the industry, whether it be alumni, whether it be faculty or staff members or anything of that nature. And we will kind of get into how to connect and who to kind of reach out to in that kind of regard as well. But definitely want to make sure that you're getting the reps in as far as your mock interviews. Lastly, at least for this part, you want to make sure that you're connected with people that are in the industry. You might hear it all the time, network, right? But what does networking really mean? It means connecting with people who have that kind of in-industry expertise, right? So be able to answer questions from a first eye view. They've been through the process, they've been where you have been, so they can really talk to you and kind of tell you about the different nuances of what to kind of expect, how to prepare, what are some things that they were able to do that worked, some of the things they were able to do that didn't work, right? So you're not wasting too much of your time on trying to do things that might not bear fruit. And things like that. So be able to connect, be able to network is going to be really valuable for those aspects, but also because it's going to be paramount to know people that are in the industry, right? It's going to be really good to know people that are at these companies that are going to be able to speak on your behalf to the type of person that you are, the type of work ethic that you have as well. It's going to be really good to establish those connections as you try to look into to get into this industry. So networking is going to be extremely important as well coming this summer and just kind of moving forward, making sure that you have a really that you're really kind of crossing your T's and dotting your I's in that respect. One thing that I always tell my students as far as networking, one thing to kind of build out your list of contacts at the end of each session or each conversation. Ask the person you're networking, whether it's alumni, whether it's a representative at an organization. Hey, like this was a really fruitful conversation. Can you suggest anyone else that I should be talking to as well? And see if you can get 2 or 3 additional contacts that they can put you in touch with. Now, in addition to that one person that you talk to, now you have 2 or 3 other people that you can reach out to. That's a close probably connection to that person. So again, it's a little less daunting than kind of cold calling someone out the blue. You can say, hey, X, Y, and Z, I connected with them last week. They told me to reach out to you because as I'm going through this kind of consulting recruitment kind of process, and I'd love to steal 15, 20 minutes of your time to just kind of pick your brain. It can be that simple, but you have to start somewhere, but then from there you can just build upon it. Any questions on case interview kind of strategies? We're going to get a little bit more about networking and things of that nature in a little bit.
So one thing that I want to say, and I'll just put this in the chat, is that case interviewing is the crux of your preparation. This is the thing that is unique to consulting firms. And I was talking with the people from Deloitte, and said that often Econ and BSOS major students do really well in the interview, except for the casing interview component. And because it's just, you got to do math in your head. There's a right answer. It's not just about yourself. And so that being said, that there is a workshop also being sponsored by Deloitte that I really encourage you, if you've got the opportunity. I think it's 6 to 7. It's 5 to 6 or 6 to 7.
6 to 7. Yep.
6 to 7. And so definitely steep yourself into the process, so that that you know what's expected. And the most important thing is to practice. That even so, Deloitte actually has a tool that walks you through different kinds of cases. And what I just recommend, even if you can't find someone to do mock interview with, go through the process and speak it out loud. Struggle with it, stammer with your words, and then so that you get used to, you develop muscle memory for this. So again, the more practice that you have, the better you're gonna do. And it's just life. All right. Basically, the people who joined us last week met with Rahila and Andy. Layla is also one of their dedicated consultants. She was also, she started with Deloitte last year and is an Econ grad. And all three of them, their goals that are part of their work are to do outreach at University of Maryland. So please reach out to them and ask questions. Please reach out to them once you have clear questions to ask, and so that you can really take advantage of their enthusiasm to help you. However, they are not the only people. So what I want to do is just go through Terrapins Connect and LinkedIn to show you different ways that you can identify other alumni. And you don't have to keep it just to Deloitte. It can be any consulting firm. Just about every commercial consulting firm has case studies as a part of the interview process. So let us take a look at Terrapins Connect. And so this does take a little bit of time, like 1 or 2 days. So if you don't have an account, please sign up for it now. Just go to terrapinsconnect.umd.edu and there will be a page for you to register. What I want to show you are just some of the features that you can use to start your networking process. So everybody who signed up, every alumni who signed up for Terrapins Connect, signed up because they want you to reach out to them. So this, so you're not going to get a 100% response rate because people have lives, people are busy, but this is different than LinkedIn where you sign up for various reasons. Here, you sign up because you're an alum and you really want to pay it forward, pay it backward, give someone else the help that you got, right? So, so as you see that you can, see the active users and the online users, I want to show you some of the filters so you can search by company and organization. So let's just take a look. It doesn't need to be all caps. Deloitte. And so we've got 92 people who have Deloitte somewhere on their profile. And so you can just kind of hover. So Justin, I'm not going to butcher his name. He now works at Accenture. But I would assume that if you just clicked on that link, you would see his experience at Deloitte. So he worked there for 5 years as workforce analytics. So for example, so this might be a really interesting person for you to talk to because he's got experience at Deloitte, at Accenture, and as a business owner. So, and Price Waterhouse, PwC, KPMG. So this guy has done a lot of consulting. One other really cool thing that I just want to point out, if you click on message Justin, so this helps. What I love about Terrapins Connect is that you can click on an email and it will give you a template. So if you are thinking that you're wanting to do some career exploration, you can click on this and then edit this template to have it be relevant to you. So you don't have to really try to figure out what's exactly the right thing to say to get somebody to respond to me. These prompts, I think, are really useful. And so I recommend that you take advantage of it. LinkedIn does not do this. LinkedIn, you got to create your own. So again, if you've got any questions as I'm moving on to LinkedIn, please unmute yourself. And that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go over here. Because what we want to do next is, so LinkedIn has a lot more people on it than Terrapins Connect. And there's some really cool features that I want to show you if you're looking for people for advice, to do mock interviews with, or just to broaden your network. So if you go in the search and you put in University of Maryland, and you go to that page. Nope, I didn't want to follow. I guess I did. So they have got a really interesting breakout of their alumni, so that everyone who has University of Maryland on their profile, all 326,415, they're going to be listed here. And what is really interesting about this is if you, so you can filter on where they live, where they work. 992 work at Deloitte. That's kind of a lot. So at Terrapins Connect, I think, how many did we have there? We didn't have 992. And I'm just, so there were 92 on Terrapins Connect, 992 on LinkedIn. So this, if you are running into a wall or something like that, but again, you can also, there's Booz Allen, Amazon, Capital One, Ernst & Young, Accenture, lots and lots of people to reach out to. You can also click on next and click on what they studied. So let's just, so I'm a little biased here working for the Department of Economics. So I'm very curious about the Econ majors that work at Deloitte. So once you have filtered it down, then you've got the opportunity to see who is either currently or in the past has worked there, who has an Econ degree. And so one of the things that I really recommend that you do, and I probably should have done this a little bit more in depth so I could pull up a good profile, but LinkedIn profiles are also really good as our Terrapins Connect, of looking at different career paths. And so just realizing that, that Rachel started as a summer associate and worked there for 4 months in 2016, and then got hired as a consultant for 2017. So some of our younger students here, I encourage you to think about their summer associate program if Deloitte is where you want to go, because we've got some proof now that that can help you land a job there. So when you are wanting to connect with somebody, what I recommend, obviously you click on the connect button, and you know, this isn't the best way of doing it. More. Okay, so I did this the wrong way. And let us not look at my messages here. So what I wanted to say is that I think that LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to personalize, not just to make a connection request, but to personalize it similar to Terrapins Connect. And I apologize, my computer is acting a little strange right now. So, so things are just being a little slow. Okay, so those are the things that I wanted to talk about, because I absolutely concur with what Gabe said. Networking is the most important thing that you can do this summer outside of practicing your case interviewing. If you know somebody who advocates for you, you have such a greater chance of getting hired than if you're just interviewing cold. So take advantage of all the strategies available. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and let's go back to our slides. All right. So go ahead.
So now we'd like to kind of flip it, and we like to guys kind of have your turn to kind of talk amongst each other and kind of really kind of debrief off of all the information, the resources that we kind of just shared with you. So what's going to happen in a few minutes, we're going to break you guys out into breakout rooms, about 2 to 3 students each, and we'd like for you guys to just kind of hit on a couple of different points. We'd like to discuss where you are at in your process currently, right? We recognize that, you know, we have very different students from varying different class years, majors, backgrounds. So we recognize that there will be students at different points in this process. So we'd like to discuss where you guys are in this process and maybe compare notes. Review their plans together, that ones that we just shared or ones that you currently have for yourself, and see any commonalities that you may have. Any suggestions that you may be able to offer the other person, and then brainstorm who you can do mock interviews with. We've given you some suggestions of who you could reach out with and some different search strategies of how you can find people. Find people to kind of network with and do mock interviews with. So discuss and if there are any of the things that kind of resonated with you or something that you kind of want to explore first. And then again, sharing resources and helpful hints. Again, we realize that everyone's kind of at a different stage in their journey. So, you know, it'd be a great time for some of those who might be a little bit further ahead to share some of their wisdom with some that might not be as far ahead or anything like that. So we're going to open up these break rooms in a little bit, and I'm going to give you some time to kind of discuss amongst yourselves, and then eventually we'll be going through just to kind of check on you, see if you have any questions or anything like that. We're going to probably have these breakout rooms open for about 10 to 15 minutes, just so you guys can have some really spirited conversations, and then we will reconvene back here to close out the session. Before we do that, are there any questions over anything that we have covered thus far?
Hi, could you share the link again to, sorry, I found it, the planning worksheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me, you're not the first person that's asked, so let me just put that in the chat again. And this goes back, this breakout session goes back to the accountability that we were talking about earlier, you know, that this is just once you say, all right, this is what I'm going to do, you're just more likely to do that. So, and also, Jessica, to get back to your earlier question, you know, who you can do mock interviews with, you know, take this time to brainstorm, see if the two of you are a fit, if you might want to, the 2 or 3, sometimes doing it in small groups is really useful. And we also really recommend that you sign up for the summer debrief. And even if you can't come, Gabe and I are still working out how we're going to do that, but we're going to send out some emails this summer to just, you know, to give some advice, any other resources that we come up with. And if we hear from you that you would like some more, another workshop that can help, or one-on-one mock interviews with one of us or with somebody at the Career Center. So I'm just going to be completely transparent that I am not an expert in case interviewing. I have done some research into it. I'm going to be doing more. So if I get to a point where it's like, yeah, I can do some mock interviews with you, then we'll send out an email to those of you who have signed up for the summer debrief workshop. And because we know those are the people who are most committed to this. So, so the more that we see your desire for more resources, the more we'll respond. And so Gabe, I just gave us more work to do. I know you're excited about that.
Like I said, I have a open summer, so it's fine.
Great. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and
All
open
right.
the breakout rooms.
Let's do that. Okay, perfect.
We had a few, so they, oh, someone just dropped out.
Oh, they're all good. You want to pause the recording?
Oh, let me stop sharing. No.
Then, you know, you certainly want to spend your summer making sure you have the experiential learning about doing case interviewing. And I think the other thing that we were talking about in the small group is just how useful it is to talk to people who are doing it, to make sure that consulting is the right fit for you. It is just, you know, for some people, it's just the water they swim in. You know, they get to work with a lot of different companies, they get to travel when it's not a pandemic, and you get exposed to so many different industries and clients, and but at the same time, it's intense work. And so you want to know what you're getting into before you commit your time for doing things that you're ultimately not going to be happy with. From my perspective, it's all about finding your fit. So, you know, be clear about who you are and what you want, and then talk to people to see, is consulting going to give you those things? And we're here for you if you need us, and if we can be some more support. And we're going to be doing our homework this summer too, and learning more about this process so that we can continue to be a resource for you. Okay, any last minute questions?
Yeah. First, like this already, you guys are, I love this series and that you guys are doing this. I want to ask what maybe we can expect from like this kind of series heading into recruiting season. What kind of support would that look like? What would the support look like?
Part of it, we want to hear from you about what you need, because we're creating this to serve you guys. Gabe and I have talked about wanting to make sure that there is a casing and a case study interviewing workshop in the fall. so that you've got the opportunities to practice. And we think that's going to be the most helpful. And so my understanding of their hiring cycle is that they're recruiting for summer 2023, and they'll be finished with that in September, maybe a week into October. So we would probably have a casing workshop beginning in middle of September. So if you've got other suggestions of what you need, email us or tell us now and we can start working on it.
Yeah, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a while, but obviously this is all new, so we're trying to do what we think is most impactful for you, but obviously you guys know what is most impactful for you. Another reason why we want to have that summer debrief session, not only for the students who've been able to participate here, but when you guys are getting to your groups and things like that, definitely encourage them to come to that session as well. So as a group, we can kind of cumulatively see, okay, what is the need? What would you like for us to provide? One thing me and Rhonda have also been doing, because the business school does kind of have, they've been kind of be able to work in this process for a number of years. So we have been collaborating with them to see just kind of the resources they've been able to utilize and the kind of the processes that they've been able to use. So we will be kind of trying to adapt some of the things that they've done that have been working for some of them and some of their students. And obviously we'll also be able to keep you abreast of when employers will be coming to campus, things like that. As we are seeing kind of a relax of some of the COVID restrictions, right? We have been starting to see a lot more employers be on campus, doing on-campus interviews and things like that. So definitely keep an eye out for emails from, especially Rhonda, from myself, from, just kind of the Feller Center in general, as far as on-campus interviews, open opportunities and things like that, because we will be sending those kind of correspondences. And if you do have questions, obviously definitely reach out to us. We are more than happy to help at any time. But yeah, this process is only as good as we can all kind of do it together. So being able to get the feedback that this has been helpful, that the resources are beneficial to you, encourage us to kind of really dive in and do more of the work so that we can make sure that we're providing what you guys need.
Yeah, I really appreciate that openness for student feedback. I guess if you want some ideas right now, I think, well, you already mentioned this a little bit, but yeah, I would love kind of insight into what the business school has in terms of meeting with recruiters, and how to make those connections with recruiters, what to expect, how to make the most out of a relationship with a recruiter, how to develop that. Because yeah, I've heard some interesting stuff from my business school friends who they've gotten coffee with a recruiter or something like that. So really getting insight into kind of the culture also of how business students might network with recruiters intentionally. And also, yeah, just how recruiting season works in terms of what should I be doing? Where should I be going during recruiting season? Yeah, but already everything that you guys have planned so far sounds lovely and already very helpful.
Great. One thing that I would say too is to definitely reach out to the people who did last week's presentation. And even though Layla wasn't there, she's the person that I have talked to the most. And she has a really good perspective because, she didn't have this. She was an econ student. She snuck into the business school to their events, that's how she did the case interviewing preparation. And but she also has insight about why you guys are have an edge over business students. And it's, again, it's that diversity of thought and thinking. My cat wants to definitely emphasize that point. So I think often we get into this perspective of how much the business school, how much more resources they have. And at the same time, there is something really useful in your post academic career in being scrappy, in having to do the research, in taking an alternative path that that I want you guys to lean into. You know, it's that business school, you're going to get a little bit of groupthink, and so having that perspective, you know, economics and government, and you know, and language and policy, you have a lot to offer. And so so I think that resources don't necessarily mean a better fit. And also Layla really appreciated how hard she had to work for consulting, and now she wants to kind of give back to other BSOS majors because she knows how important they are to Deloitte. You know, this is not just, you know, she thinks econ majors and BSOS students are better. She knows that they offer a lot. So I'm scared my cat is going to turn off my computer really shortly here.
I just wanted to add one thing. Everything you said was definitely right and kind of very well said. I just want to add the fact that, you know, one thing I've definitely seen also, just kind of in conversations with employers as well, kind of what Rhonda kind of alluded to as far as that group thing, right? So they, one thing I've seen is kind of the more intentional with looking outside of just business students, right? So there is more of a draw for, you know, varying students in kind of the BSOS realm because of what kind of comes with your academic experience, what comes with, again, what Rhonda saying, kind of that scrappiness, not being, you know, the traditional mold in the industry. So you kind of had that innovative way of thinking that you know, that diverse way of thinking that industry, you know, definitely needs. So there is a lot of draw, which is another reason why we definitely felt strongly about one, being able to put this series together and really start to really kind of accumulate some of these resources so that you guys, you know, feel that you guys are supported in your ventures, excuse me, not adventures, but maybe adventures too. I don't know.
Life is an adventure.
Yeah.
It's all an adventure. Yeah. Well, so I'm happy that you guys joined us, and I really hope that this was useful. I appreciate your feedback, and we, I mean, again, we're here to provide you with the resources you need, and if you've got other ideas about what you'd like us to offer in the fall, either come to the debrief or send us an email, and you'll be getting some emails specifically for the people who attended this session and the last session, just to let you know what the resources are. So, all right, so enjoy your evening. Hopefully some of you are going to sneak on over to the next case interviewing workshop in an hour. And but if not, that is not your last chance. You'll have what you need to feel prepared for the process in the fall.